Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Today we will be working on instructional word uses. This is really a test taking strategy, but also it's an ESL strategy. And it also teaches students how to follow instructions. So we generally call these command words. Okay. So this is a Common Core essential. And part of this Common Core essential is the fact that students have to be able to reflect on the knowledge and skills that they obtained. And most of the time we do this through testing or small activities. And students have to be able to comprehend the instructions independently. So part of this activity is being able to substitute most commonly used instruction words. And so what we want students to be able to do is look at words in their instructions and break them down to decipher them so that they have a better understanding, and therefore they can complete the task that is being asked of them independently. So what data says? There are generally 55 words that are used that we call critical words for instructions. 85% of these words are used on most standardized tests like Common Core, PARCC, and these actually were found on the College Board site and also published by Marilee Springer, who's an expert in child literacy and brain development. What we're going to do is focus on 30 of these words, 30 of the 50, which are commonly used by grade levels. So these 30 words that you see on the chart are broken down into 3 varied grade levels, and these are also identified by ACT, SAT, and College Board as the most essential words for students to be able to use. So, do you know what these grade levels are? Let me help you. The 3 grade levels are, in the first tier is 4th to 5th grade level words, and then 6th to 8th grade level words, and then 9th to 12th grade level words. And what we want to teach students to do is expand their vocabulary, so when they see the word, for example, compare, what should come to mind is that compare in an instruction means looking for the likeness or the likeness between 2 things. What do they have in common? So if you look at the chart that I have created for you that has these replacement words, students now can look at these replacement words and they'll say, contrast means looking for differences. Describe means to show and tell. Identify means features and characteristics. What I've done in the past is I make this chart for students. We discuss them as a collaborative activity, and students will write in the synonyms that relate to them the most. And this can be varied by subject areas: math, science, history, art, music. And then we will take this, and not only do students keep it in a composition books for themselves, but I also make it into a poster that is hung up and covered during test taking time. So now students have 3 resources. We have this collaboration activity that's done. They have a resource in their composition book, and also it is words that I will repeatedly use in class and instructions, and students have a poster to refer to in class to understand what these substitute words mean then. All right, another way of adding to this learning is by including antonyms. So what we do is, what we want students to understand is what not to do as well as what to do. So a continuation of this, a scaffolding process is, for example, develop means to expand or to elaborate. I want them to understand that what it doesn't mean is we do not decline and we do not decrease. When I say we want a narrative, which is a sequence of events or experiences that took place, I don't want them rambling on about what a story was and putting things out of sequence. The sequence is very important. So the second part of this activity would be to add the antonyms to their chart so that students know what the instructions are asking them not to do, so that there's clear clarity about what they need to do. So now, how does this help in class, and how are these instructions sometimes interpreted? Instead of teaching to a test, you're actually developing thinking skills that will contribute to the students' lifelong learning so that they can actually take any test. So these test-taking strategies improve testing skills so that students are not just narrowed down to a particular test, but all tests. Another portion of this is having students, after they replace command words, the instruction terms, and they know these meanings and definitions by synonyms, we identify exactly what the instruction is asking. So I ask students to break the question down into 3 parts. What is the instruction asking me to do? How am I to answer the question, and what format am I to use to answer it? And what are the steps or required format to provide this information? Okay, so now students are going to scaffold these steps, and they're going to answer these use these questions to answer a prompt. So let's use this basic prompt. Explain how global warming affects the environment. Describe how we can make our environment sustainable. So the first thing I will ask students to do is to rewrite this in by replacing the command words and then breaking it down into the 3 questions that need to be answered. What are the instructions asking me? How am I to answer the question? And what are the steps to do so? So if you follow along, then what we're doing is what this may look like. So describe how global warming distresses or causes problems to the environment, and then explain how we can make our environment workable or sustainable. So now we've replaced command words or instruction words. We've broken down the instructions, and I know exactly what I'm being asked to do. I have to describe how global warming is negatively impacting the environment. I have to explain what people are doing that causes global warming problems. And lastly, I have to define ways that people stop causing these problems, and will describe what can be done to repair these problems. So now I've paraphrased the instructions so that I can understand, not only by replacing command words with synonyms that I know, but breaking down the instructions into 3 parts so I know exactly what I need to do. So what do I do now? Well, this is where you can add by grade levels to different steps. They can research the most common global warming problems. They can explain in detail what these problems are in their own words. They can resolve these problems in little group activities. They can detail negative impacts of people's actions, and they can also clarify resolutions, okay? Now, in the graphic organizer way to do this is using T-charts, Venn diagrams, and 3 columns. This is a way that you can actually expand this into an online collaborative activity. And students paraphrase their writings, they cite their references and their findings, and they share the document in a Google format. Now teachers have a way that they can use to, as an activity for any subject area. They've taught students how to break down instructions. Students have references that are accessible to them, and students know how to break down instructions so that they can understand them in their own terms, and also how to break these instructions down into steps that are easy for them to follow then. Hopefully, you will be able to use this process and in your classes, and you will see a great improvement in students following instructions. And you also have received less questions from students such as, well, I read the instructions, but I don't understand what I need to do. So now this is an easy way to help students, as well as parents, as well as teachers in the classroom, become more confident with answering questions on test. Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I hope that you use this collaborative activity. Thank you.